Here is some good news about Nvidia's RTX 4080 12GB that doesn't exist anymore. So this was a controversial card that Nvidia wanted to launch, but they didn't. Mostly because the entire tech community attacked them for their misleading information. You see, this was the second version of the 16GB 4080, but it actually had an entirely different chip that performed about 30% worse. So pretty misleading to call it a 4080 because it just wasn't that at all. Luckily, the tech news were there acting as the shield from Nvidia's unjust marketing strategies, so be sure to follow to increase your defense by 20%. Pretty good, huh? Anyways, the card has now been renamed to the RTX 4070 Ti, and it's exactly the same as before. But it should cost less than the original $900 price tag, which we'll see in January when it becomes available. So we actually made Nvidia do something for a change. So I reported on this when they first announced the 12GB 4080 as well. I mean, everybody was freaking out about it because it was just so misleading. It was not really a 4080, you know, and differentiating it in the name by just 4 gigs of the video memory is just, you know, ridiculous because it just had a 30% difference in performance. You know, most users wouldn't actually go look at all of the benchmarks. They would just assume, oh, they're both 4080s, right? One has 12 gigs of VRAM and one has 16. You know, I don't game on 4K or 1440p. I just play on 1080p, so 12 gigs of VRAM is probably totally fine for me, so I'll just get that one because it's so much cheaper. But in reality, it was a completely different card, and Nvidia is now just rebranding it to the 4070 Ti. This card is basically going to stay exactly the same apart from the name and the packaging, but there is also another change that should happen. So the original 4080 12GB was supposed to retail for about $900, but since this will be a 4070 SKU, it should actually cost less. Hopefully, at least. I mean, at least last year, the 4070 Ti came in at $600. So hopefully, I mean, it's going to be more expensive this year, but hopefully we are at least going to be getting a little bit of a discount because it's a 4070 Ti, not a 4080. But I mean, you know, Nvidia really just doesn't need to do that. You know, they have a really tight grip over the whole industry. Unfortunately, AMD with their top GPUs, the 7900 XTX, that is going to cost $1,000, for instance. That is going to be competing with the 4080 16GB from Nvidia. Nvidia is still making the best graphics cards as far as things go because no one can compete with the 4090, for instance. So they just have a very tight grasp over the industry. Of course, all the applications support Nvidia very well. The CUDA cores, everything like that, they're very popular. They have a lot of gaming technologies as well, like DLSS and stuff like that. So, you know, there's really not much reason for Nvidia to reduce their prices. You know, I mean, they probably don't care that much either because they are also incredibly successful in the server space, making super chips, supercomputers, everything sort of like that in that space, which also makes them a lot more money than gamers and creative professionals that buy their products like the 4090, 4070 Ti, stuff like that. So hopefully we get a little bit of a discount, but you know, it's really up to Nvidia.